So I'm not expecting to relate to a ton of people here, but I fucking love numbers. AP Statistics was like the only class I actually enjoyed in high school. And not only because numbers have always kind of come easy to me, but because they expose things. When you have data and you do certain things to it, you can see when something's successful or if it exposes red flags. Like for example, if I asked you if 9 women undergo IVF treatments that each have a 75% chance of success, what do you think the odds are that every single one of them fails? Also, I'm not a psychopath. You shouldn't be able to do that in your head. But your gut, it probably tells you pretty small chance. And specifically, if you used a calculator, you would find that that comes to a 0.000381% chance. Pretty much the same odds that the Jets will be Super Bowl champions at the beginning of every season. Almost fucking impossible. But that's exactly what happened to these 9 couples who all went to the same clinic in Newport Beach, California. With them saying they used high-grade embryos from Ovation Fertility, one of the largest fertility clinic networks in the country. And so the big question here is, well, then what in the hell went wrong? And well, yesterday we got an answer with their lawyers giving a press conference and dropping this bombshell.
Throughout most of the month of January 2024, a laboratory employee wrongly used hydrogen peroxide instead of a sterile solution in an embryo incubator. That hydrogen peroxide killed all of the embryos. These dead embryos were then transferred to Ovation's customers. Obviously, none of them became pregnant.
Right? They implanted dead embryos into at least 9 women and possibly dozens in total, according to the lawyers, who are now representing them in a lawsuit against the clinic. And one of these women affected, Brooke Berger, telling her story to People magazine, saying that her first 5 embryos failed and she had the remaining 2 shipped to her new doctor after she and her husband moved to California. But unfortunately for them, that doctor worked with Ovation Fertility. And so while Berger was taking medication that she said gave her nerve pain that she still suffers from today, some fucking idiot was allegedly giving her only remaining embryos a scrub-a-dub-dub with what may as well have been battery acid. Right, so when the doctor implanted both into her uterus, both of course failed, with her telling reporters.
And knowing that there was no possibility that they put me through that, it's kind of horrifying.
And her husband saying ultimately it's Brooke who is sacrificing her body physically and mentally, and I can only do so much. And adding, it's just so hard seeing her with these medications and the pain and the whole process, and then for it to be for nothing. It's devastating. And with this, you have Ovation defending itself, saying this was an isolated incident related to an unintended laboratory technician error that impacted a very small number of patients, and claiming as soon as we recognized that pregnancy numbers were lower than our usually high success rates, we immediately initiated an investigation. But notably, the lawsuit counters that before an embryo is given to the physician, someone's supposed to verify that it's viable under a microscope. So either 1, that didn't happen, 2, someone did do that, but they suck at their job, or 3, they did and they didn't care. Right? So seemingly this is like the world's worst game of what's behind the door. Negligence, negligence, or monstrous negligence. And really important to the situation is that the suit claims that Ovation tried to trick the couples into signing a release agreement, or basically a gag order in exchange for a little more than $5,000, which by itself is ridiculous, but also so small compared to the $25,000 that a single IVF cycle is estimated to cost. Right? And so for Berger and any other woman that's not giving up after all this, it means another round of IVF and many more months of painful medications and injections. And for the attorneys fighting the legal battle for them, this means a long overdue reckoning for IVF providers.
The folks who work in the lab of fertility clinic do not need certification. They do not need advanced training. They do not need continuing education. We need meaningful regulation throughout the country over this $27 billion industry.